Welcome back everyone to this week's challenge. So in this challenge we'll go how we can create this left login screen right here. We'll ignore this welcome screen, so only this one to the left. If you like this kind of tutorials, please consider supporting me on Patreon. The link is in the description. And let's just dive into it. Get a free full month of Skillshare and stream more than 18,000 online classes on subjects like design, business and tech. After a while and you feel like this isn't for you, you can always cancel the subscription and not pay anything. So don't wait, try it out now. The link is in the description. So here we have a newly created project. I've just set the debug show checked mode banner to false. You can do this in the material app at the top to hide this banner up at the top right. So first off, I will just take all of this. So I have created a stateful widget called login page. We'll cut that out. And we will actually create a new folder for that. So we go into lib, create a new, a new directory called pages. And inside this pages, we will create a new Dart file called login page. Or just login. Oh, let's call it login page. So here we have our stateful widget. We'll just import the material package. And inside here, we can then import the package to the login page. So if we rerun this, we should still have a white screen. There we go. So now we can start off by looking at the design. So what we can see here that they don't have any app bar. They're just having a flat page or a scaffold, just like we have. And the first thing they do is having a big title for the login. So let's start with doing that. So as we first saw, we can see that the spacing at the top. So instead of adding a padding to the login for the top padding, we'll just add a size box right here. So for the size box height, let's actually create a body first. So the body, which will be a list view with children. So there we go. Here we can create our sized box. And for the height of the sized box, we'll just use the constant variable k toolbar height. So we get a consistent height of the tool or at the top. And that won't actually show anything because we don't have anything. So the second thing is that we will create our title. So for the title, let's set a, because if we check at this, we can see that if I maybe scroll in a bit, no, press on this image, no. Okay, let's see. As we can see that the login is a bit indented compared to the rest of the fields and other things in this page. So we will add a padding to the text. So for the padding, we'll set something like edge insets all and then just put 8. And then for the child, we can add the text. So let's close that. So for the text here, we will type login and then we'll set some styling. So the styling is just for setting the font size to a font size that will see fit. So let's try that. So there we have our login. Now if we go back here, we can see that all of it has padding also, and we haven't added that. So list view has a padding property, and this is really important to set the padding inside the list view, because if we add it outside, we can see that this dragging animation bubbles will actually be affected if from the padding if we wrap the list view with padding. So inside here we can set the padding, and let's set it something like from left to right actually. So why we want to do this is that we don't want to add any extra padding at the top. So we will set just all of this to something like 22, and the top one will be 0. So that should add some padding. So if we check this again, you can say it's about the right spot. So the next thing is to first extract this. So you can either right click and then go to refactor and then extract method, or you just take the keybind. So for me it's Control Alt M, and this one will be build title. And we take this and paste it at the top. Like that. So there we have our title. So the next thing is, if we check the design again, we can see that it have a bit of a small container that is black, and it covers almost both the L and O. So let's do that. So for this widget, we will create a container. So inside this container, we will set the width to like 38 or something. And height will be, let's set the height to 1.5. And then we can set the colors, something like black. So right now the container is filling the parent, so it will set the full height. So I'll just wrap this with an align. So now we can see that we have that line right there. So let's set the alignment to the center left. And we can also see that if we check with the Flutter inspector, you can see that the text already has a padding to the left and top, right, and bottom. So we will have to add some padding also to this align. So with this padding, we can set the padding to set to only, and we'll only set it to the top. So set it to the top for like 4 more pixels. And then the left we can add something like 12 and see how that looks. And that looks good. So let's move on. Let's wrap this padding inside a new method. And we'll call it just build title line. Let's put it below the title. So for the next widget we will build is, if we check this site, is this input field for email. We will not input a mobile number. I don't feel that's like accurate to have if you have already a password. So let's just use a email instead. And we can see that at between this login or this line and the email, it's a bit of a stretch for the height. So we'll set a size box there. So let's add a size box. So for the height of the size box, we will try something like 70. And now below this box, we will start building our email. So actually, before we build this email, we will actually use a form for this list view. So let's wrap this form or this list view in a form. And this takes a key. So let's create our key at the top. We'll create a final form key. Like that. Now this key we can add to the form. Like that. And we will also, when we're at it, we will actually create our variables for the email and the password. We won't actually use this that much. We will only set the variables, but we won't like use it to display them on another page or something. And let's see here. So inside this list view, we'll start by building our email text field. So to create our email text field, we will actually create a form text field because we're in a form. So we have a bunch of different properties in here. We have an onSaved, so we will use that. We have a validator, we'll also use that. A decoration, which will be for the label text. And we can, oh, that should be enough. So to see if we are doing it right, we can see that the email address, so for the label, let's start with that. We can actually comment this out so we can actually see what's happening. So set the decoration, which is a input decoration. So for the label text of the decoration, we will just set that to email address. Because if we check this, they have an email address / mobile number, and we'll ignore the mobile number. So if we save that, we have a text field, which is about at the right place. So for the onSaved and the validator, so let's do the validator first. So for the validator, we will have the input, which is, you can name this whatever you want. I will name it email input just to make it more obvious what this is. So if you haven't done forms before, I have a tutorial on the channel for that, but I'll try to explain it again. So for the validator, we won't actually need an arrow. So for the validator, we take the email input, which is what we type into the text field or the form field. And inside here, we will check if email input is empty. And we won't have a real validation. We'll just check if it's empty or not. You can have a real email verification to see if it's a legit email or not. And we will just return. So this will be the error that happens if this field is empty. So we just return a text called please enter an email. Like that. And on saved, we will have the email input again. Put like that. Use the arrow function and take our variable email and set that to the email input. So this will only happen if this validator passes. So there we go. That should be all for the email address field. So we can take that again and extract it and build email text field. Take that, put it below. So for the next thing we will do is add a, let's see how they have done it. We can actually see that they have a bit of a spacing there. So we'll add another size box and give it something like 30. So for the next thing, which is the password, I believe. Yeah, the password. And this is a bit more complicated than the email because we have this I. And we will actually use this to or show the password or not. And then we have the forgot password, which we'll do after. So first off, we will do the same as before. We'll take a text form field. So inside this text form field, we'll create a onSaved validator and decoration, which should be enough. We will actually have one more thing, which is obscure text. So let's start off by using the onSaved. So the onSaved is just as we did it before. We'll take the input, which is password input, and we will just map that to our email or our password. I mean. So we take the password input, map that to the password variable, And then for the validator, we will take the input again. So inside the variable, we'll again just check if it's empty or not. You can check the length and everything you want to, or if you want to do that also. So if it's empty, we'll just return a text called please enter a password. And for the direct decoration box, we'll actually wait with that. And for the obscure text, we will set this to true to begin with. We will actually have a variable for this. So if we say this, we can see that it has about the right spacing between them. And if we type something in here, it's hidden with these dots. Okay. And I did actually close that one. So for the decoration, there we go. So for the decoration, this will be a bit more complicated. So let's give it a input decoration. So for the input decoration, we'll have a label text called password. And to have, if we save this, we can see that they have this I to the right there. So to add that, we have a property called suffix icon. And there we go. And suffix icon, if we look this again, we can see that it takes a widget right there. So for the widget, we will have a icon button. Just format that. And for the icon, we will just have something. We'll actually put the on pressed at the top. I feel that's more accurate. And we will have the icon. Will just be icons. Icon. Dot red eye. Yeah, something like that. And we will also have a color. So colors.gray to begin with. We will change this when we press this icon button. So when we display it, we will like make the eye blue or something to indicate that it's pressed. And for the onPressed, let's actually create the variables we need first. So the variables we'll need is one, let's think. So one variable we need is a boolean. And this boolean is used to check if we have pressed this button or not. So is obscured. And we will initially set that to false or true, I mean, because we want the password to be obscured in the beginning. And we will also have a color. So this color, we'll just call it iButton color, which will be gray in the beginning. So if we go back now to colors.gray and set that to iButton color, and let's see, now we can just set the state. So if we have pressed this button, so right now we don't have anything to check if this is pressed or not. So if the obscured is obscured, let's just also add this obscured to the obscure text. There we go. So if this is obscured and we press the button, we can set state. And for the set state, we will set is obscured to false. And we will also change the color of the eye. So iButton color, which will set to theme off. So we can just set it to the primary color. Like that. And else, we'll copy all of this. We'll set this to true. Or we can set this again to colors.gray. So if we try that, We can see if we can type password. If we press this, the eye is colored and the text is showing. So that works good. So that's all for the password text. So let's extract that to another method. And that method will be build password input, maybe. We'll format that, take this, and put it at the top. So below the build email text field. There we go. So there we have all of this. So let's check what's the next step. So the next step is this forgot password text. And to build this password text is pretty simple. We will add a line. And why we'll use a line is to set the alignment to the center right. And the child of this alignment will be a text, which says forgot password. And if we save that and check right now, we can see that we still also need some padding to that. So the padding will be a only padding to the top. So if we check that, it looks about at the right place. So we can also see that it has a gray text and not a black text. So let's change the style of the text also. So let's change the font size to begin with and set that to 12, so it's a bit smaller. And then we can set the color to gray. And that should be enough. There we have our forgot password. So again, let's take this, extract it, build password text. Take this, put it below the other one. So let's check the design again. So for the next thing is to build our rounded login button. We can see that it also had some spacing between there. So we will start by adding the spacing with a sized box and set the height to that sized box. And we will do something like, I don't know, 60 maybe. And then we will start by building our button. So to build our button, we will set an align. And then for the child of the align, we can set a sized box. And the height of that sized box, let's do 50, and the width, I don't know, 250 maybe. And then for the child of this size box, we can add a flat button. So the flat button will have a on pressed, and it will also have a different color. Let's see, it will have a different shape, and it also have a child for the text. So let's start with the bottom one first. So if we check what the text is, it just says login. So to create our login text, we create a text widget for the child, and we set that to login. And then we'll also add some styling, so we can take the theme of context. And we'll use that, set that to primary text field theme, and then take the button. And we can see that we don't have any colors yet, so let's start with adding colors so we can actually see it. So let's take something like this. What am I missing? Let's see. We have our button. Is it because we don't have any on pressed? It's not showing. What am I? There we go. Oh yeah, it's because we didn't have any on pressed. So right now we have our button, but we can see that we can add a bit more width to it. So let's add something like 270. And that looks good. So now for making it rounded, it's like the other challenges, we use this shape property. We can take the rounded rectangle border, and inside that we can set the border radius, and then it has a circular, and we can just set this circular to 30 to make this rounded, like that. So that looks good. So for the onPressed, we will actually validate the fields. So we can use a if and take our form key. So form key have a method called the current state, or a property called the current state, which calls the validate function. So when we use this validate, so inside here, only gets here if the fields are, if the fields pass. So if we try that, so we can see that we're missing an email, so that's why we're not coming inside to here. So if we add, because we have just an empty, I will add it like that. We can see that they are working. So inside here we can also set or save the form key. So this will call the save function for the fields and save it into the variables we created at the top. And inside here, I will just add a to-do if you want to use this. Like that. And that should be all actually for our button. So we will extract that and call it build login button. Take this. So for the next thing, let's see what's the next thing. So the next thing is this login text. So for the login text, first off, we'll just add a sized box actually. Let's set the height to something like 30. And for the login text, we will have, let's add a line because we want it in the middle. Like that. And then the child of this will be a text. So the text will actually be the same as the other text. So let's take this. Actually something like that. We can go back here. Remove this child. And change this text. So the text will be or login with. Oh, I completely misspelled that. Login with. You can see that or login with. And we had an error. That's because we have too many of those. There we have our text. We'll extract that again to build or text or something like that. Take this, put it at bottom. So for the next thing we will build is these rounded buttons. So the first thing I see is that they have a space in between there. So let's add that spacing, which would be a size box again, plus but something like 16 in height. So there we go. So for the buttons, we will actually have a row, and we'll take the children. And because we want this, or actually I will show that later. So for this to work is that we will build our icon buttons. So for the icon buttons, we will add a container, and the child of this container will be an inkwell, which has a untapped and a. We will actually wait with the next thing in the inkwell. Like that. So for the next thing is that we will set a decoration, which will be a box decoration. And here we can set the shape. Set that to a circle shape. And we can set the border. So we can actually see this. And set the color to something like colors.gray. And then also change the width. So there we go. And because we have we don't have any height set to this container, we will do that. So for the height, we'll have 46 and width also 46. Save that. Now we can see that we have this rounded button, but as we can see, this inkwell doesn't do this what we want. It actually has a squared ink splash. So to make this rounded, we can take the border radius of the ink splash, and we can do the same as the container. We take the border radius and we set it to a circular. So now we have our ink splash right in the middle. So we'll also implement icon, and we actually need a package to get the Google and Facebook and Twitter icons. So for the, let's see if we will just get that now. Yeah, let's just get that now. So go to Flutter packages. We just scroll in a bit. You can see this type icons. Let's just take this, install that. So we go to our project, we go to pubspec YAML, and we go to Flutter, and we run packages.get. Like that. So then we can take the import. So there we go. Here we can see the icon after I just close down IntelliJ and open it again, and that's working. So what we actually need to do right now is to, because the color of this Facebook icon, if we go back to the design again, actually, we'll see that we start with the Google icon. So let's change that to Google. And I don't actually know how to get this colored icon. We will probably have to download a asset for that. So we'll just set that to a blue color, or we can actually set to red. Let's see what makes most sense. So for the row, to make this be in the center, we can set the main axis alignment and you set to center, which will center this the content of the row. And then for the container, we will extract this to something like build social media buttons. And we will have that down here. So the parameters for this is, because we don't want to rewrite this for each button, we will take a icon data, which will be the icon, and we will also have a color for the icon color. Now I actually gave it to the wrong one, so cut that out, give it here. And so for the icon, we can put to the icon, and the icon color will just be here. We haven't actually implemented that, so let's just add a color like that. So back up here now, we can implement what we actually want. So for the first thing is that we want a Google button, and the colors for that will just be blue. And if we check if that's working, and it works. So let's take this and create 3 of them. So what we also can see now is that we have no space in between them. So let's just add 2 sized boxes for the width. So it's something like 16. Like that. Now we have the right spacing for them. So if we check that again, it looks a bit right, about right. So let's add different icons. So we had a Facebook and we had a Twitter. We check that again. And for the blue color of the Facebook, it's a bit darker. So let's add something like shade 800. Like that. And for the Twitter, let's take like something like light blue. So you have a bit lighter color for that one. So that looks a bit right, about right. So for the next thing is that we will actually have another sized box, which have a height of something about 70. So let's take first this container and put that top here. So inside here we will actually have our, if we can show it, here we have our like footer or sign up text. So to create that, we'll have a align, and we will have a child for that, which is a rich text. So with the rich text we can add multiple text spans to that. So the child for this rich text will be a text span. Let's see if I'm doing this right. We'll actually have a text for the text span. So inside here we can have a text property. And because we can't write like this inside here, we can add a backslash and write it like so. Thought it was something like this, right? Don't have an account, sign up. And we have a big one there, or capitalized. And we will also have some styling. So right now the text is not showing, so we will have the same text style as the other text we're using, which be the size of 12 and the color of gray. If we try that now, we can see the text. And so this text span actually have a property called children, which will be a list of text spans. So let's just type that out. Text span. And because it's a list, we will add those brackets. And we will add our text for the sign up text. So first off, the text will be sign up. We'll add a spacing there. And we can set the style. So just add this to another pitch. Like that. So for the text style, we will have a font weight and make it bold. And we will set a different font size to something like 14, and then set the color. And the colors is just black, I think it was. Yeah. Or probably not black, but very dark gray, but we'll just set it to black for now. We check that, we have this sign up text right there. So let's take this line and that's the wrong keybind, and we extract that to build sign up text. Take this, put it here. So there should be all. Let's check the design and our design. And I think that looks pretty good. We have our icon, which is a bit different. We have our Google button, which we can have an asset instead, but that would take too long to implement. But overall, we have our design and it looks pretty good. So if you like this video, please let me know in the comments what would you like to see next. And consider supporting me on Patreon or PayPal for more future videos. And I will see you in the next tutorial.